voices, F off, F off. Drago's great. You know, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. So and the voice stopped. 15 minutes later, she goes online onto Facebook, and there's this huge rant starting to come out of some late woman named Ash Bray, who basically is going off on Drago and Laura and saying the most ridiculous, insane things. And apparently, that person was probably in the programs too. Okay. And was getting voice to skull technology and wasn't strong enough or whatever to resist. And and that's where if you're not um, trying to be in sovereign control of yourself and having connection as much as you can with source God and not worshiping people, but you being in touch with your higher self and being principled and manifesting who you are supposed to be in the here and now, then that really opens you up to the psychic attacks, the voice to skull, the psychoelectronic warfare like that.
I have a question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, this just because it's happened to me most of my life, I get a lot of visitations in my dreams, attacks, and I mean, I've even woken up from a dream of being attacked to being physically attacked when I'm awake from it. So that's how I knew it was real. Does that happen to people
Yeah.
too?
Well, what it is because you're RH negative and you're automatically going to be a person of interest to the other side, and
I'm
then you
implant.
might, and then you're probably also, because of like I was talking about incarnational kind of paths and lineages, you're probably like we all are, and everyone listening to this is probably what we call a star seed, right? We're here to because we've had these off-world or other dimensional experiences and lifetimes to master and learn whatever skills we have and to bring that wisdom and love and learning and light here to the here and now. On the one hand, you might be getting visits from your positive galactic family,
Yeah,
and then you're
sometimes.
being targeted now by the darker forces who they want to dim your light. So that's part of the targeting is a mass targeting of all star seeds. It's like where people are talking about getting visited by shadow people in our childhoods. That's probably to shut down our third eye and make us subconsciously or just straight up consciously say, oh, okay, enough of this ghost stuff. I want to like experience the 80s,
Right.
and go watch RoboCop in the movie theaters and forget about all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. There may be then now you might be in the programs. You're being visited by the positive galactics. Well, now the negative galactics, hey, they might want a piece of Lala's DNA because wouldn't it be great to have a sample of your DNA enough that they could then go take it back to their tissue banks, grow more, and then start hybridizing with it? Ooh, now we've got an RH negative human hybrid star seed, with these abilities to put into our people and the better ones. It's maybe their civilization or their genetics are damaged and they need to recover and heal and they need your DNA. Other ones, there's a huge genetic intergalactic black market apparently for genetics, especially human genetics, for various reasons, and that might be one reason why. And so there's always categories, but it's starting to make sense to us all now. It's being
Well, especially
demystified.
since we're not that advanced technologically. Our technological era is 200 to 300 years old, and already we can edit our genetics. So our genetics are easily editable. So that has to be a huge deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, we can they talk about the 90% of our DNA is supposed junk DNA. That's all the starseed genetics and abilities with like longevity to live thousands of years, to be telepathic, to be able to achieve certain brainwave states like instantaneously so we can levitate or form a Merkaba light body vehicle and travel around or, bilocate or remote view spontaneously. All of that is locked up in the so-called junk DNA, and that's very valuable.
Very indeed.
This is so cool. I'm so glad you're on.
Yeah,
No,
let's keep going. We got a few more minutes, but let's well, you got to come back because I have 1,000 questions.
Great. Love to.
Okay, you want to answer?
Go ahead. You're
I
up next.
did my Milo.
Okay, good. Then I started the company Hawkeye 360. We build spacecraft that we put on orbit, and we are on our way to over 100 of them for a particular task. So space is kind of a deal to me. That's why I followed Musk since his inception. So I do definitely want to hear about secret space programs.
Right. And also you mentioned Musk. So my understanding with Musk is that the galactics, I'm talking about the positive galactics now, they need to how do they deal with humanity? We've got like 200 plus something, almost 300 countries spread all over the earth, and people are going to get sore if they land in the Red Square versus Washington, D.C. versus Tiananmen Square versus Havana versus The Hague or wherever. And so apparently they do need human spokespeople to deal with. And whether or not we like him as a popularity contest on Earth, and whether or not he, here as an Earthling, or human rather, um, pursues this transhumanism agenda, like Neuralink, for example, um, they still need human leadership to deal with. Now, my understanding is that if he does things like crimes against humanity, okay, then and strays across a certain line, then he could probably be replaced. They could probably clone him or have a body double or CGI avatar. It's not that hard these days, and go from there. And so I always caution people that don't get caught up too much on the personalities or people, because people, maybe they could start out great and then we could get swapped out and for someone, a clone or an avatar that's terrible, or vice versa. Or maybe it's just galactic politics and hopefully he plays ball and while he tries to pursue that Neuralink crap, which is his prerogative, he also um, helps to oversee good things under the incoming administration to bring us into our Star Trek future, and while we continue to push for disclosure either way. Now, in terms of the breakaway civilizations, it's not like the bad Germans just moved their spacecraft and production factory to Antarctica in league with negative Draco and Jahami Anunnaki and sat there. They began to go all over the place and rampage like the movie Avatar, except they should have German accents. And people talk about something called Nachtwaffen, or like night wing or something like that. And someone says that's not the real name, and oh, you don't even know the real name, so how do you know what you're talking about? Whatever you want to call it. The Germans in space began to use time travel to spread all over. And what they would do is, the movie Rebel Moon apparently depicts this, where it's like, why do you have like space travel and then like Norwegian looking farmers milking cows? Well, what Penny Bradley and others apparently would do in the programs is they would go do time travel, go back in time to these like Viking battlefields, literally cut the head, fly down from the ship. And so that's where like the Valkyrie legends come from, of these women with like winged helmets flying down, use a lightsaber, chop off the heads of these fallen warriors, bring them back up to the ship, and they look like these cloud ship things, fly off, throw the heads into regen tanks, tell these awakened warriors, in their regen bodies, welcome to Valhalla. You jump them off on like this kind of idyllic farm planet, which is really kind of still rough, and tell them, here's a beautiful lass or two. You raise a family. Here's your space cows, and go at it. And we're going to leave you whatever resources. Well, don't worry, we'll come and check in you on time to time. We're your gods. And then with time travel, just keep zipping back. You dump them back a million years or however far you can go, and then you zip back and forward. Apparently, what John Whitberg and others have said, and I think remote viewers and others have said, and ET contacts have said, is the German breakaway civilization itself might be about 1 trillion human beings.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Because if you spread us out to multiple planets and different systems, and you threw in time travel, you could do it. and cloning
with unlimited resources, total amounts of free energy, faster than light travel. You could go a long way.
and the galactics don't like it. The positive galactics do not like it because they
Oh,
don't
I'm
like
sure
how
they don't. We're fairly aggressive and warlike. And look, the ones that were left behind here to do ever what we can. We've gone from shooting each other with bows and arrows and throwing rocks to rockets, nuclear weapons, modifying our genetics, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, robots, etc., in 250 years. That is very rapid, and it has to be quite scary.
Yeah, and what makes it scary is that a lot of people talk about, oh, humanity, oh, the humanity, we're war like this and that. And I always say, we've been since the times of Atlantis down to Babylon and Iraq and Egypt and ancient Rome had this loser-farianism, this Baal Molech worship crap imposed upon us from the top down for thousands of years, this money magic stuff. And it's like, yeah, humanity enslaved under a loser-farian 3D matrix system. Yeah, we're pretty rapey, steely, killy. But but what happens when the blinders are off? We're introduced to our galactic brother and sisterhood or family. We've got these technologies. We don't have to live in poverty and scarcity, but like in abundance and love and peace and friendship and community. And then, no, let's talk about humanity and who we are and how we manifest. And I know it's going to be very different. That's the new earth. And right now we're at a low point for humanity. This is like the clock hitting the bottom of the clock cycle before turning and coming up back up. And that's really where we're at. And we were all part of helping to push it past that low point.
Well, we've got 1 minute left. So don't leave after we shut down the stream. We want to go ahead and schedule your return. There's just too much to talk about.
I'd love to be back. Thank you.
Lala has 1,000 questions.
I do.
Because many of the things you have talked about, we know from interaction, regression, her dreams, the things she's been through, the things I've witnessed, the thing we continue to experience. She's been through all of it.
Well, maybe then the next show we can discuss Lala's experiences, and I'll do the best I can to put them in a context and a framework.
That's a great thing. Let's do that. I want that recording anyway because we need it for our purposes, and you're the perfect person to do it with.
Can I just one more question before we go?
Go.
The new Earth. I know Dolores Cannon spoke about it, and I didn't really understand. Do we shift? Do we die and go, or do we shift? It's like the Mandela effect. We're on Earth.
It's a Mandela effect, I believe. Okay. We're shifting all the time.
Yes.
And we don't even really realize it. It's from what I'm understanding. And then it's not, and then the Mandela effect and all that, part of it is that's like, even because of all the timeline editing, they had to like merge the timelines around 2012 is what I've heard. And so that's where a lot of these Mandela effects come from. So maybe that'll make it a lot more blatant, because normally if we weren't on an edited timeline, we wouldn't see these shifts and it wouldn't be as noticeable to us. Right. So that's kind of the nice thing about the Mandela effect, is it makes these quantum shifts noticeable. And hey, I didn't feel it when I went from my original timeline, I believe, where I remember as an organizer, I used to be a community organizer in San Francisco and throughout California, organizing doctors and medical workers to do medical advocacy. Right. So I taught and read about and watched movies about and cried about, how Nelson Mandela, after 26 years in Robben Island prison, died. It was terrible. Right. And then one day around 2011, 2012, I'm watching TV and this TV commercial comes on for a movie with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman. And it's about how Mandela came out of Robben Island prison, became president of South Africa, and then, among other things, inspired the national rugby team to win a tournament.
Right.
And then that's what people are like talking about, the effect. Yeah. And so we didn't feel that shift. So I don't think we'll feel it. Just like the people who go to the lower Earth split, they're not going to. It won't be necessarily a noticeable thing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We're going to have Brian back on to cover some of the things we missed in our technical bobble, and we're going to extend it and have him talk about many of the experiences that Lala's had that she has not had a chance to talk about with somebody with Brian's expertise. And we're just going to keep this going because Brian's a great guest. Thank you all and good night. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for being here. We'll see you again soon.